Wow, a game I've been meaning to play for years, and now I'm finally forced to play it. This is Blox, a physics-based puzzle game that I've heard great things about time and time again, and it was made with the help of Steven Spielberg of all people. In fact, I've had many tell me that this is a hidden gem, but is that true? Let's get to the bottom of this. So this game boasts over 300 levels just from a single player perspective, and these are broken up into a ton of different modes. The first you're falling into is Training Mode, and gives you a sample platter of different puzzles you may expect. Since this consists of things you'll see scattered throughout the game, I'll just skip to the proper sections. The first actual section I played was Gem Blocks, with the goal being to knock down all the gems present. Immediately, I figured out that with this being a physics-based game, the solution to these puzzles may require some out-of-the-box thinking, instead of just directly hitting every block. For example, this one here, where I aim for the solo block, and that turns the platform into a tilted seesaw, which ultimately makes every block fall. Even if some of these earlier puzzles are quite easy, it's so satisfying figuring out and then setting in motion what will allow you to clear each level. Also, if you didn't know who published this game, you do now. At least this title is one of EA's better offerings, so I'll give it a pass. Second up to bat is point blocks. Instead of knocking gems down, you're aiming to eliminate point blocks. But be careful, some of them will make you lose score. You need a certain amount of points to progress forward. And oh yeah, let's go into the scoring system in this game. Each level has 3 tiers you can hit based on how many turns or points you have: bronze, silver, and gold. As long as you score on the podium, you can move forward. Some of this mode's later levels deviate from the rest, and instead you get access to a laser to shoot with. This section, ending with a slightly different playstyle, is a trend that continues throughout the game. Bomb Blocks is perhaps my favorite of the bunch just because it's full of bombs. You get to blow up and destroy structures. You know how satisfying that is? Especially with how well the Wii Remote pointer controls are here, which is something I don't think I've talked about yet. The controls here always entail aiming at the screen with the remote, and then pressing A to interact with blocks in whatever way you can depending on the mode. It's also easy to control the camera using the nunchuck control stick. There's also vanish blocks, and yeah, there's certain blocks that will completely disappear when hit. So the strategy here is figuring out which ones are worth vanishing. The very different gameplay in this one is getting these enclosed glass areas. There are openings to throw a ball inside, and you gotta pray it hits everything contained in it. This takes me to the chemical blocks, and these blocks will explode when one comes into contact with another. This is pretty much an extra complicated version of the previous bomb section. You can't just hit one of these blocks and expect the whole level to explode. Now it's time for the last mode available in the Explore tab, Grab Tool. This one is also one of the most satisfying to play, because instead of just throwing objects at blocks, you instead are pulling the blocks apart. It's very apparent that this is this game's version of Jenga, but hey, it fits perfectly here. The fluid controls make for a really pleasant experience. This was the first mode that gave me a run for my money, with the Jenga tower you see here taking me upwards of 2 hours to score high enough to progress forward. While it provided quite a challenge, it was so damn satisfying when I finally got it. I'm shocked it didn't have more of a reaction on the stream here. So with that being the last mode, you may think the video is over, but that's completely false, because I still haven't talked about Adventure Mode. This is this game's story mode, and is split into 4 different worlds that are each further broken into a few sections. The stories themselves aren't too special, so I don't need to go into intense detail, but they are fairly engaging, I imagine especially for younger players. These heavily feature game elements we've already seen, but there is some unique content mixed inside it. For example, the first of the bunch is Gem Kingdom, which is medieval themed and full of these sheep. You may see here some previous elements of bombs, gems, and chemical blocks, but you'll notice a bit of tower defense action mixed in as well. Some of these stages' score requirements are based on how many gems you're able to hold onto by the end, with a factor of them potentially being stolen. Next up is Gordilla Rescue, with that first word sounding like a Taco Bell secret menu item. This takes place in the jungle, and you need to help a gorilla save her children from an angered tribe in the area. This section takes advantage of the grab tool, and bowling balls, depending on the level. Your overall goal here is to make sure these children don't perish, or at least minimize how many you spare. Sorry, one casualty. Assuming you saved enough children, afterwards is Boots and Bandits, a western themed section. I spent so much time in this mine area. It's similar to the enclosed space from earlier where you throw a ball inside and pray for the best. Ultimately though, this section wasn't anything too crazy. The section that did get in my way though was the last of the bunch, which is called Haunted Night. Taking place on Halloween, this is about defending kittens from a slew of enemies, and I admittedly couldn't finish this section. The final grave battle area, I believe, may house the hardest levels out of the entire game. I spent so much time trying to figure out how to survive here, but these enemies are insane. It was really hard for me to keep up here. I even went online to see how others approached it, but I was still stuck. After many attempts, I got a bit frustrated and gave up. I didn't have it in me to finish the last 2 levels here. So yeah, sue me. I technically didn't complete the rest of this, but I played the rest of the game, so come on. I completed all of the explore modes and most of Adventure. I think 7 hours of gameplay is more than enough to form a proper opinion on this title, so let's do that, shall we? Well, this for sure is the best puzzle game I've played on this console thus far. This makes the previously played Rubik's World look like the worst thing ever. And that game wasn't even bad, it was just subpar. The amount of content you get here out of just one game is impressive. Like I mentioned earlier, there's over 300 levels from just a single player standpoint, and this number increases if we throw in multiplayer. I imagine you could kill so much more time going for higher scores on each level as well. It's really easy to burn time in this game thanks to how fluid the Wii remote controls are here, being one of the best out of any of the third-party games I've played as of this game's completion. So for all those reasons I just mentioned, I rate this an 8. I think it would be a crime if I rated this any lower. This game is a Wii hidden gem. I don't have any complaints here. I imagine if I threw a bunch more time into the 2 levels that I was struggling with, I would eventually beat them. This game also has a sequel that I'm eager to talk about someday, but until I'm able to do that, that's all I have for today, so thanks for watching.